Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my reaction of UFC 330, Islam Makhachev versus Machado Garry. And whoa, what a pay-per-view we have. Oh my god. I mean, I'm hearing some crazy stuff. I'm hearing people compare this to UFC 300, comparing it to the White House event. Look, I don't think it's that level. I would say it goes White House card, UFC 300, and then UFC 330. Obviously, I mean, how can you not just look at this card and think, wow, it's stacked? I mean, we have two fights for the belt. Now, are there absolutely no other ranked opponents on this card? Yeah, but who cares, man? Let's just have fun. Let's get right into it, starting with the first fight of the night, Jeremiah Wells versus Myktybek Orolbai. It's Orolbai fight week. Let's get into this. I don't know why this fight's happening, and neither do the odds makers, because the odds are minus 900 favor for Myktybek Orolbai. He should win this very easily. I really don't understand this matchmaking. Look, Orolbai has one loss in the UFC, from what I remember, and it's against Rebecca, and that was a scrap. But then since then, he went on to beat Tafik Musayev, a fight that I rewatch regularly whenever I'm having a bad day. And then after that, he knocked out Jack Hermanson in round one, which is very impressive. Although, is it just Hermanson was cutting too much weight? Probably, but still. And then he fought Chris Curtis and just put like an absolute clinic on him with the wrestling, which is very impressive. I believe he beat the takedown number for his weight class, something like that. He has some kind of record now for how many takedowns landed in a 3-round fight, at least for that weight class, because somebody else just broke that too. Those jiu-jitsu guys, I'm pretty sure. Somebody. But anyway, the point is, that was very impressive because Chris Curtis was known for being very hard to get taken down. I mean, Brendan Allen was struggling to take him down, but then Orolbai took him down with ease, like a lot of times. So I do think he'll be able to do the same thing to Jeremiah Wells. And let's just talk about Jeremiah Wells real quick. Let's talk about his recent fights. So he's coming off of a win over Themba Gorimbo by close decision, and I don't think Themba Gorimbo is all that good. And then before that, and I'm not kidding when I tell you this, he lost to Max Griffin. Yeah, no, it's the guy you're thinking of, and you're like, there's no way he lost to him. He did, though. And then before that, he lost by submission to Carlston Harris. I didn't, like, when you look at those guys' record, and it's like somehow 9-3, and you're like, who the fuck are the 9 guys they beat? It's Jeremiah Wells. That's who they beat. So, in saying all that, I'm picking Myktybek Orolbai by submission. I could see him taking him down in round 1 and submitting him pretty easily. Let's move on to the next fight of the night. Neil Magny versus Ramiz Brahimaj. And let me look at the odds real quick. Really? So Brahimaj is a favorite. I don't know why. I do not understand what it is that made him a favorite in this fight. I'm picking Neil Magny, and for once in a very long time, I think Neil Magny is the logical pick here. Ramiz Brahimaj, he's getting like a jump up in competition coming off of a loss. He just lost to Poliani Soriano. He got out-grappled in that fight and outstruck, a little bit of both. And he was the one shooting for the takedowns and getting reversed constantly. And the thing about Neil Magny is that even though, you know, like he has a lot of fights and we've seen him lose in every way possible, he's really only losing to top contenders. Let me list to you the Neil Magny losses real ip, because I know there's a lot of them. There's 14 of them, 15 of them. So either that's wrong or typology is wrong. He lost to Yaroslav Amosov. I knew his name. I'm not a casual, I promise. But like, you know, who hasn't? You know, Yaroslav Amosov is going to be a top 5 contender. Before that, he lost to Carlos Prates by knockout. Whoa, you know? Before that, Michael Morales. Before that, Ian Gary. And before that, Gilbert Burns. But that was 2023 Gilbert Burns, prime Gilbert Burns. My point is, you notice how he's not losing to anybody of the skill level of a Ramiz Brahimaj? You notice that? Anybody who, when he fights the lower level competition, he beats them. And look, Brahimaj, he could catch him with like a big shot and knock him out. But again, he's not Carlos Prates, you know? He isn't. He's not Michael Morales. Is that his name? Yes, I think so. I don't see him putting away Neil Magny, and like half of his wins are by guillotine, and I don't see like the height difference over here. There's a 5-inch height difference, and I believe this is a real 5-inch height difference, not like in the main event that we'll talk about. I don't see him getting a guillotine on Neil Magny. I don't see him getting anywhere near Neil Magny's neck. I think at distance, Magny's going to have the reach advantage. He's going to be like, you know, throwing these combos. You know what I'm talking about. Just like combos that are not powerful, but do enough to get you up on the scorecards. And then Brahimaj is going to try to shoot on him. And I could just see Magny holding him against the cage, doing what he does best, just clinch festing it. And in round 3, if Brahimaj slows down, which I could see him doing because he's a powerful dude and he does slow down in the 3rd, I could see Magny either submitting him or getting like a ground and pound TKO in true Magny fashion. So I'm picking Neil Magny by 3rd round finish. I don't know how, but it's going to have to do with the ground. I'm going to say ground and pound TKO. And yeah, I don't understand why Brahimaj is getting a jump up in competition coming off of a loss. It makes no sense to me. Let's move on to Rafael Tobias versus Lucas Fernando. Listen, I'm not going to pretend like I know a whole bunch about these guys, but I've seen Rafael Tobias' last fight. It was against Dr Nurgaje, the guy from last week who got that knockout over Bruno Lopez, and Tobias lost to him. Pretty like it was a very dominant decision loss. And I know like before that he was 14-1. Everyone was talking about him because he's this like big Brazilian monster, but he did not impress me in that performance at all. And Lucas Fernando, he's the defending LFA champ. I don't know how we keep on getting these guys. Every card, there's like an LFA champ. So who's at the LFA? Like, who's the champ there? We have them all right now. And it's not even like there was somebody after him. He was the current LFA champ before getting booked for this fight. So do they just not have champions? I don't understand. But I think he's going to win this fight. I believe he has some losses. Let me look at his record real quick because he's 13-3, but those losses are not as bad as you'd assume. It's against Cesar Almeida and Azamat Makhachev. And Azamat Makhachev and LFA, that's cool. I didn't even know Azamat Makhachev was an LFA. Point is, those are not like terrible losses. I think Tobias loses to either of them, even though this is light heavyweight. It's middleweight. I don't know. I think, no, it's light heavyweight. So he's going up a weight class for this fight. Okay, that makes sense. I still think he's going to have the speed advantage. He is still taller, so there is that. I saw a couple highlights from LFA. He has some nice knockouts, and I just think he's going to be more slick, quicker, and he's just a better fighter overall. Again, LFA champion, and when you look at their records and who they have fought, Tobias has fought a whole bunch of people with not the best records, and Fernando has fought some tough opponents with some good records and putting them away. So I trust him ultimately. I'm going to pick him by knockout in round 1. All right. Let's move on to the prelims. Vicente Luque versus Tresean Gore. I'll be honest, I don't know who I'm going to pick for this fight. We're going to figure this out together. Just come here, sit down for a second, and let's figure this out. Tresean Gore, he's 7-4. Vicente Luque is 24-12. But like half of those losses came in the past 2 years. There's a 1-inch difference in height. Here's the problem. Vicente Luque, he's old, but he's not that old. He's 34, but he's like a Max Holloway 34, where like, you know, he started a very long time ago and has taken a lot of damage, so he's going to age a little bit quicker than we're expecting him to. But exactly how much is he going to age? Is he going to lose to a Tresean Gore, a 7-4 Tresean Gore? That rhymes. Tresean Gore, I believe he's a favorite in this fight. Yeah, slight favorite. And the reason why is because he just beat Azamat Makhachev, who we just spoke about. But, like, there's a big difference in between losing to somebody in the middle of their win streak and then beating somebody after getting brutally knocked out in the fight before, which is what happened to Azamat Makhachev. I really think there's, like, we've seen this a lot. There's these contenders. They look like world beaters. And then once they lose once, they just keep on losing. Like Michel Pereira. Remember when he was a world beater? When he had, like, 6 first-round finishes in a row? And then he just became shit like that because Fluffy beat him? And that's it. And now he sucks. And now he can't even get first-round finishes anymore. So I think that's what happened to Makhachev too. When you don't lose for a while, you have this it's like confidence. And once it gets broken, it's over, you know? And I also think Makhachev gassed out early against Tresean Gore because he tried to just get rid of him early in the fight. And when it didn't happen, he ended up kind of quitting. You know, that's really what it was. He ended up getting guillotined out cold. And that's Tresean Gore has a really good guillotine. I think he has 3 of those now. So we got a lot of guillotine professionals here. I don't think he's able to guillotine Luque. Although Luque has been susceptible to front headlock type of chokes. I know Kevin Holland anacondaed him. I don't know, man. I understand that Tresean Gore is a favorite, but I think I have to pick Luque. And the reason why is because Tresean Gore, he's been dropped in a lot of fights that I've seen. He made us think that, what's Norma Dumont's boyfriend's name? Marco Tullio. He made us think that Marco Tullio was really good because of how much the skill difference between him and Marco Tullio was such a big difference that we were like, oh my god, Marco Tullio is the next big thing. Turns out you're just shit. But like, how shit? I have to pick Luque. I have to, and I'm going to regret it. I already know I'm going to regret it when Luque is just washed. And here's, okay, so Tresean Gore has really good takedown defense, but also he got out-jabbed by, what's his name? The jiu-jitsu guy. And personally, I can't take that. If you get out-jabbed by, Rodolfo Vieira. You got out-jabbed by Rodolfo Vieira, you know? So I do think Vicente Luque is a better striker than Rodolfo Vieira. He's not as big, though. He's a smaller guy. Again, he's probably going to be, they have a similar reach. I think that Luque is going to piece him up on the feet. I don't think he'll be able to take him down. Nobody has been able to take down Tresean Gore. It's just a thing about him. But I think Luque will be able to hurt him on the feet. And when he drops him, Luque is like the inventor of club and sub. I think he's going to be able to drop him and get a Darce submission. Although this body type looks very hard to submit. So if Luque fucking fumbles it, I can see it. I see Luque fumbling the Darce. He ends up on bottom. Tresean Gore's on top, landing heavy ground and pound. And then Vicente Luque just quits. I could see it so much. But I have to pick him. I can't pick Tresean Gore. I just in good conscience can't. But if Vicente Luque loses this one, I'm never picking him again. And if Tresean Gore wins again, then all right, I'm stopping to count you out. But just one win is not enough. Because before that, he has had a couple losses. And not to the best opponents, you know? I'm picking Vicente Luque by submission, round 1. Let's move on to Donte Johnson versus Eric Mcconico, also known as Khalil Roundtree Jr. Why are you not loading? Thank you for loading. I appreciate that. Everyone's been having problems with the UFC website, so I was very worried about that. Now, who do I think is going to win? I see people picking Eric Mcconico to beat Donte Johnson, and he's also not that big of an underdog compared to what I would have expected. Donte Johnson, he's had a weird career. He made he had his contender series fight at heavyweight, despite being a middleweight. He took it on short notice, 5'8". He fought at heavyweight and knocked the dude out. But then since then, he fought Cedric Dumas and submitted him, I believe, in round 2. And then he fought, what's his name? The guy who everybody fights and has a weirdly competitive fight with them. You know, that's what he does. He makes a competitive fight out of people, and his name is Cody Brundage. The great Cody Brundage. Listen, Cody Brundage is better than people give him credit for. I'm just going to come out and say that. That's probably very controversial, but I picked Cody Brundage in his last fight that he ended up winning because I knew that he just gives people a really tough fight. He gave that Australian guy who's coming up a really tough time too, or that New Zealand guy, the guy from Adesanya's gym. He just makes people look bad even though they beat him, you know? Even Bo Nickel, he was the first guy to really fraud check Bo Nickel. So yeah, did he make Johnson look really bad? Yes. Did Johnson win anyway and is still undefeated? Also yes. And honestly, I think Eric Mcconico is worse than Cody Brundage, even though, now that I'm remembering, I'm pretty sure he beat Cody Brundage by a very close decision though, right? Yeah, by a close, and I think when I watched that live, I thought he actually lost that fight. But regardless, I think Donte Johnson, also, we have to look at what camp he's trading with. He's trading with Sean Strickland and Extreme Couture. I think that he has the power. He has the athleticism. In his last fight, the footwork was off and his hands were by his waist. He looked bad, you know, but he did still win. He still beat Cody Brundage. And I think that Extreme Couture can help him work on his fundamentals a little bit more. And I think he's going to win this fight by a knockout. Mcconico is a little bit shitty. And I just don't see Mcconico knocking him out. So if it goes to decision, I think Johnson wins. I think he also has a grappling advantage. And I don't even see it going to decision. I think Johnson wins by knockout. Let's move on to Jalin Turner versus Kaue Fernades. I see people picking Kaue Fernades. Whoa. And I don't know why. What's the odds? Yeah, this is like weird. I mean, Jalin Turner is a favorite, but like barely. He's only a 160 favorite. I guess it's a decent favorite. But I see this being a very clear Jalin Turner first round knockout. Because Kaue Fernades is going to be significantly shorter than him. And in general, I want you to tell me this. Who has outstruck Jalin Turner on the feet? Because I can't remember anyone. I go back on his record, and all of his losses have been to grapplers. It's just how it is. Look, I'll read them to you right now. Here are his losses in the UFC. He has 6 of them, which is disgusting. Ignacio Bahamondes by submission, and that was terrible. Why'd you put your head into a fucking triangle? Before that, he lost to Renato Moicano. He got out-grappled. Before that, Dan Hooker, and what saved Dan Hooker? When he took him down and got that rear naked choke in. Before that, he lost to Gamera. And before that, Matt Frivola, I don't remember that fight, but that's in 2019. Besides for that, he's beat all of the strikers. If the fight takes place on the feet, Jalin Turner is going to beat them straight up. Like, I think he's one of the best strikers, but he's so underrated because he's not that good at grappling. So can Kaue Fernades come in and fucking take him down? I don't think so. I've never seen Kaue Fernades try to use his grappling before. And Fernades is good. He'll be able to use the calf kicks. Jalin Turner's got skinny legs. I can see them working on someone like that with that frame. But even then, I could see him going for a calf kick and getting caught with a 1-2 straight down the middle and getting dropped badly by it. You know, it's very risky to go for calf kicks at someone that much taller than you. You're walking into their punching range. Like, yeah, he's got a 4-inch reach advantage. I'm picking Jalin Turner. Also, he retired and then came back, and now I think he's all motivated and shit. And I think we're looking at a new and improved Jalin Turner, maybe one with good fight IQ, you know? Because he also did drop Moicano badly and try to get a walk-off TKO, which ended up with him getting TKO'd. So he's not the best at fight IQ. Again, sticking his head into a triangle. On the feet, I trust him. You know, I'm always going to pick Jalin Turner in a fight that I think is only going to be on the feet, and that's how I see this going. So I'm picking Jalin Turner by first-round knockout. Let's move on to Chidi Njokuani versus Joel Alverez. Now, this is a short notice step up for Joel Alverez. It was supposed to be Njokuani versus Jeff Neal. And again, I would have picked Jeff Neal, just like I'm picking Joel Alverez. This is the third fight on this card, and I think there are more, by the way, where people are getting step-ups off of a loss or off of a shitty win, and it just doesn't make sense. Chidi Njokuani just lost to Carlos Leal, and I picked him to beat Carlos Leal because I don't think Leal is all that. Leal got knocked out in the fight before that to the Kung Fu guy, and I don't think he's even that good. And Carlos Leal got flatlined by him in round 1. And then he put a pace on Njokuani and beat him. And even before that, who did Njokuani beat? I'm pretty sure before that he lost again to Jake Matthews, right? If I remember correctly, by submission. Yeah, he's coming off of 2 losses. And he was going to fight Jeff Neal? The level of disrespect, my brother. It doesn't make any sense to me. And before that, he beat Alessio Zaleski dos Santos, and he missed weight for that fight. And before that, he beat Jared Gooden, you know? So, I don't understand, what are the odds? It better be crazy. Yeah, okay, Joel Alvarez is a big favorite. Look, Joel Alvarez is coming off of a loss to Yaroslav Amosov. But I'm not surprised by that. I picked Yaroslav Amosov. I think he's going to be a top 5 guy very soon. Joel Alvarez is really good. Before that, he hasn't lost in a while. I think his only other loss in the UFC is to Arman Sarukian. And he has 100% finishing. No, he doesn't. Because he didn't finish Vicente Luque. And that was a bad performance. And that was his... So both of his fights at 170 were not the great performances. And there's a worry here because he's always had a better frame than his opponents. He's 6'2". When he was at lightweight, that's one hell of a frame for lightweight. And now he's going against somebody who's 6'3" and has a reach advantage on him. But I think there's going to be lighter man skill. I think he's just better overall. And I don't know who Chidi Njokuani has beat that has people thinking he's good. I don't understand it. So I'm picking Joel Alvarez. I could see him rocking Chidi Njokuani, stuffing him down into like pulling him down, getting him into a headlock, and then catching him with a guillotine or a darce. You know, I'm feeling a darce over here. I'm feeling a lot of submissions on this card in general. Like I see a lot of ground and pound and then into submission. And Chidi Njokuani, yeah, he got like easily submitted by Jake Matthews, and then Jake Matthews went on to lose to Magny. And it was a weird fight, but still, like, you know, easily submitted by Jake Matthews. Not a great look. So I'm picking Joel Alvarez by submission. Let's move on to... We're here at the main card. Edson Barboza versus Esteban Ribovics. Why is this fight happening? I don't know. They want to see Unk get slimed out. And I have a take. I don't think Edson Barboza is going to get slimed out because I think Ribovics is a pillow puncher. I think Ribovics is going to win by decision. Barboza, he's in his Aldo stage right now, but like the Aldo stage where they're somehow getting more and more ripped. Like these Brazilian guys, they get old very quickly, but not their body, like just their spirit. If that makes sense. Like, all of a sudden, how old is he? He's probably like 40 or whatever, or like 38, I would guess. Somewhere around there. And he's looking shredded as ever. But at the same time, he looks terrible in his fights. He's coming off of a first-round knockout, where he got knocked out against Jalin Turner. Before that, who did he lose to? Lerone Murphy? Is that it? There had to have been somebody after that. I just remember him having some disappointing losses. So he lost to Jalin Turner, Lerone Murphy. Oh, Drakkar Close. Yeah, that was the one where I was like, oh, it's time to wrap it up. When you're losing to Drakkar Close. And the thing is, like, he had that win over Sadiq Youssef. And it was like, whoa, you know, because he got hurt in the first, and then he ended up winning all the other rounds. And it was very impressive. But then Sadiq Youssef ended up just, like, not being good at all in the sport. I don't think he's even ranked anymore. And then besides for that, again, he lost to Lerone Murphy, bruv. And then he lost to Drakkar Close, and he got knocked out by Jalin Turner. Yeah, I don't see him winning this. I see Esteban Ribovics just kind of outclassing him, having the speed advantage. I don't see Edson Barboza landing the spinning wheel kick, which is his only hope. It's the only way he's going to win this, is by spinning wheel kick. He hasn't even really been throwing his switch kick anymore. The Edson Barboza switch kick has not been thrown. So I can't even trust him to do that. It just seems like he's kind of checked out. Like, I could have sworn I've seen him retire 3 times by now. I don't know what he's still doing here. It's time. I'll wrap it up. So hopefully he retires after this. I see Ribovics winning a 30-27 decision where he's just one step ahead of him, always quicker. There's times where you'll see a nice switch kick and you're like, whoa, Barboza, and then he's going to run away for 30 seconds and then throw another switch kick. And maybe in the last 10 seconds, they point down and then run away for a little bit more. So I'm picking Ribovics by decision. Let's move on to Mansur Abdul-Malik versus Dustin Stoltzfus. Whoa, hold on. Stoltzfus is on this card? No way. Dustin Stoltzfus. I can't believe people are saying this is a bad card. The fourth fight, this is the second fight on the fucking pay-per-view of the main card, and it's Dustin Stoltzfus. So who's not excited for this? By raise a hand. I'm picking Mansur Abdul-Malik. He's 9-1-1. That's his record, 9-11. And his loss, just happened. It just happened to what's that guy's name? Fuck, I could see it. It's a long name. It's the same guy to be Makhachev. I don't remember the guy's name who just beat him, but I picked him to lose because I kind of knew, and real ones knew in general. They kind of gave him somebody who was really good, and his name is Yusuf Balgaruri. Yusri Balgaruri. And Yusri is very good. I think he's going to be a contender very soon. And I think he needs a big step up in competition. And the UFC didn't really realize that because they gave him to Mansur Abdul-Malik, and they thought that this was going to be Abdul-Malik, just, another guy in his way. But no, because Abdul-Malik is not really that good. He also had a competitive fight with Brundage, didn't you? I'm pretty sure that's what this one over here is. So this one's Yusri Balgaruri, and this one over here is the Brundage. I think it became a draw or a no contest because in round 3, there was a head clash, or he hit him to the back of the head, or down opponent. He did one of the 3 things you're not supposed to do. And so round 3 didn't count. And by the way, I think this is one of the only fights that have actually been overturned after a decision was made. So basically what they did was, it was like 1-1 going into the third. Somehow, he dropped around to fucking Cody Brundage, which again, I told you, that's what Brundage does, man. And then so they decided that round 3, whatever, there was like 30 seconds of round 3. And they're like, well, Abdul-Malik won those 30 seconds. So they gave him the decision. And then Cody Brundage was like, that's fucking retarded. And they actually overturned it to a draw. They didn't count that third round. And so he has a draw with Brundage, which is really fucking funny. But I do think he's going to win. I think Stoltzfus, I believe he is coming off of a loss to, who was it to? I remember him having a disappointing loss that I might have even picked him to win that fight, which was probably dumb. Kelvin Gastelum. Yeah, I think I picked him to beat Kelvin Gastelum, or maybe I picked Gastelum to beat him. Regardless, it was a very competitive fight, and losing to Kelvin Gastelum in 2025, which is when that was, is very not impressive. And in general, he's not really that good. 16-8, so he wins 2 out of every 3 fights, and I'm guessing most of those wins came before the UFC. Yeah, his record in the UFC is 3-7. Yeah, I'm not going into... There's nothing more to break down. His record in the UFC is 3-7. We're picking Mansur Abdul-Malik by knockout. I'd say round 2. Round 1, he's going to weirdly struggle with Dustin Stoltzfus because he's not that good. He's not as good as people think he is. And then round 2, he's going to come back and get a knockout. Let's move on to the feature fight. Charles Johnson versus Eduardo Chapolin. So this is why I wait basically until 2 days before the fights to do my breakdown. Because up until today, Charles Johnson was supposed to fight Jose Ochoa, and I'm glad that fight isn't happening because I was going to pick Charles Johnson, and it would have been a very dumb decision. I already told you guys I'm stopping to pick Charles Johnson, and I was going to do it anyway. And I think that it's like I was going to pick him, and I think he was going to lose. So I'm glad that fight's not happening. Instead, he's fighting Eduardo Chapolin, and again, I'm going to pick Charles Johnson. Chapolin, I know him from Contender Series, not Contender Series, The Ultimate Fighter. He was on The Ultimate Fighter last season. And he lost, right away, by submission to, what's his name? That guy who's actually in the UFC now. The guy who won at the end. What's his name? Joseph Morales. And since then, he's won twice in LFA. Again, I think another one of the LFA champs. They're just not around anymore. And then after that, he won a Contender Series by decision. I don't think he's that good. He's a really good striker. That's what his thing is. But I don't see him being a better striker than Charles Johnson, especially not his debut. There's no way this guy making his debut is going to beat Charles Johnson. I think Johnson is he's definitely on the downside of his career right now. I think that the title run is over for Charles Johnson. It's taken a lot for me to admit that, but I think that we all have to be honest with ourselves in saying that. But at the same time, I still think he's only going to lose to people who are true contenders, even his last fight, when he lost to that Kazakhstani guy, which I'm not going to try to remember his name. Even then, it's well, that guy's probably going to be top 5 real soon, He went to a split decision with Temirov, who just flatlined Steve Erceg, and he popped for steroids in that fight. Must I repeat? Now, I keep on using these talking points, and then Johnson keeps on losing. But I do think this is a big step down. It's a short notice fight, and by like 4 days short notice. And this guy, like, it's his debut in the UFC. I just don't see him beating Charles Johnson. I know DC was very high on him. He was so he was the LFA champ. He went to Ultimate Fighter, then went back to the LFA. So he was just able to stay the champ there. That's pretty interesting. But yeah, I don't think he's that good. He has power, but he got easily out-grappled. And I could see Johnson out-grappling him too. I'm picking Charles Johnson by knockout. You know what? I could see him knocking him out. But maybe not. Maybe by close decision. I'm picking him by knockout. We move on to the co-main event. Mackenzie Dern versus Jillian Robertson. Whoa. I'm excited for this fight. Two women who would absolutely lose to, what's her name? Weili Zhang. They would both absolutely lose to her, no doubt. It's stupid. It feels really dumb watching this fight because what the fuck? Like, I want to see Mackenzie Dern fight the actual champion. And it is, like, Weili Zhang is still the champion. I don't care if she went up a weight class and lost. She would still beat everyone in this weight class. So, in a way, maybe it's good that we just see, like, they're fighting for the crumbs. Like, all right, who's the second best, at least? Mackenzie Dern surprised me in her last performance against, what's her name? Jandiroba. Verna Jandiroba. And I watched a lot of tape on this fight. I watched a lot of tape on Mackenzie Dern in .25 speed. I was just really, hypnotized by her fighting style, let's just say. But there is something I did pick up on this while I was watching all this tape, and specifically in her last fight, coming close when I tell you this, Mackenzie Dern learned how to throw a fucking jab. That's right. One more time. Mackenzie Dern learned how to throw a fucking jab. And I think that's going to be the game changer in this fight. A female champion has learned how to throw a jab. She throws it quite nicely, too. There's some sting behind it. She's throwing power punches. And Jillian Robertson does not know how to strike at all. No offense to you. But yeah, like, I don't think Jillian Robertson deserves this title shot. I think that, what's her name? Tatiana Suarez deserves it. Because Jillian Robertson just beat that Brazilian girl who lost last week again. And she goes by the name of Amanda Lemos. So she just beat Amanda Lemos, who has since lost again. But the thing is, the person who I mentioned right before, that Tatiana Suarez, beat Amanda Lemos first. And then she went on to beat Lupe Godinez. And for some reason, Robertson beating her after that, and not winning any fights after that, she gets the title shot. I don't understand. I understand that, what's her, I can't, fucking hell. I just said her name. Not Lupe Godinez. Tatiana Suarez. I do think that she just got a title shot, and that's why. But that was against the real champion in Weili Zhang. I think that her against Dern, that's interesting. Tatiana Suarez versus Mackenzie Dern. Wrestling versus jiu-jitsu. Let's see it. Jillian Robertson, it's jiu-jitsu versus jiu-jitsu. And I think Mackenzie Dern has the better jiu-jitsu. So, will Robertson be able to take her down? Yes, I think so. Will Dern have a lot of threats off of her back? Yes, and I could see her just... that's what she did in the last fight against Jandiroba. She was doing a lot of damage off of her back. And on the feet, she outstruck Jandiroba, which actually really surprised me. And I think on the feet against Jillian Robertson, she's going to be much better. Jillian Robertson throws, like, pitter-pat shots just to get the takedown. When she's on the feet, she looks like a victim. And Mackenzie Dern did not look like a victim in her last fight. I know what beats her. What beats her is power punchers. You know, like, she lost to Lemos, but again, I think that's a stylistic matchup. You're not going to see Mackenzie Dern get a lot of takedowns. She's not a wrestler. If you take her down, you're in danger. But on the feet, if you're like, if you have heavy punches, you could knock her out. We've seen that a couple times now. But if you're not like Jillian Robertson, and Jillian Robertson has to take her down to win the fight, she's just going to catch herself in submissions constantly, getting hit to the face with elbows, with small punches, but they will cause damage. And if it goes to decision, it's going to go to Mackenzie Dern. And again, on the feet, I think that she's much better. And I can even see Robertson getting submitted. I know she's a jiu-jitsu girl, but against Lemos, she almost got armbarred. And that's Lemos, you know? So Dern, I could see Dern doing a lot more with those positions. I think she's much more... she's much bigger for the weight class and has a lot more muscle for this weight class. A weird thing happened to Mackenzie Dern. In the first half of her UFC career, she was skinny fat. And then out of nowhere, she just gained a whole bunch of muscle, became a lot leaner, and her face completely changed. So I'm not going to throw around accusations of anything. You know me, I never like to do that kind of stuff. But also, she's definitely on steroids. So I'm picking Mackenzie Dern by round 3 submission. Let's get real specific with it. Let's move on to the main event of the evening, Islam Makhachev versus Ian Machado Garry. I'm actually excited for this fight. Guys, there's a big fight on this card. It's actually a great fight. and something that really needs to happen. It's just it's unfortunate that all the other fights on this card are like low level. You know, I won't even say they're dog shit. Like I think this card's gonna be very fun. You know, it's just that there's nobody like again. There's two title fights, and then there's no ranked fighters on the rest of this card, which is ridiculous. Maybe Charles Johnson is ranked, but I don't even think he is ranked anymore. And should he be ranked really? I don't know. Anyway, I should be talking about the fight that's in front of my face. Islam Makhachev versus Machado Garry. This is funny. This is like the polar opposite. There's on one side, oh, I think women should rule the world. The world would be a much better place if we all just listen to them. And on the other side, hey, don't ask your wife. Hey, brother, just tell her. Yeah, so that's the... You know what? I'm actually rooting for Makhachev. This is the first time I think ever that I'm rooting for Makhachev. He's growing on me. I always liked him. He just always fought people that I liked more than him. You know, Volkanovski, Renato Mercado, Dustin Poirier. We could go through all of them. I liked them all more. I was probably going to root for him against Sarukian, but the fight never ended up happening. And obviously, I was rooting for JDM. But I think Makhachev wins this one. Look, I see a lot. I see some people either picking Garry or what they're doing is really, this is the crafty move. You pick Makhachev, but you say, I really think Ian Garry has a chance, though. He's really good, right? So I'm going to do that, too. And so that when Ian Garry wins, if he does, we can all be like, yeah, no, I also picked that. I was saying Ian Garry had a chance. No shit, of course he has a chance. But no, I think Islam Makhachev should win this one. I know that all the underdogs have been winning lately. You know, we've had the Justin Gaethje. We've had Peter Yan win. We've had Strickland win. I think it stops here. It would be very funny if Ian Garry won. It would just be hilarious to have him as a champion and to have Islam Makhachev lose to Ian Garry. I think that's the funniest part, is if somehow he loses. And the guy, you know who is the guy to finally dethrone Islam Makhachev? He's tied with the win streak of Anderson Silva. And you know who was the guy to beat him? Ian Machado Garry. And then he wraps the belt around his wife. That would be hilarious. I don't think it's going to happen. It would be hilarious. I would also, like, you know, I wouldn't want to live with myself if that happened. But, let's talk about how the stylistic matchup. Let's really get into the ins and out of this fight over here. Here, I'm going to give you first the reasons why Ian Machado Garry is a tricky matchup. He has good footwork. We haven't really seen him getting taken down a lot. You know, he fought Bilal, and Bilal didn't even really have any takedown attempts. He fought Shavkat, and Shavkat really struggled to take him down. And, you know, we saw Bilal elite. Like, here's the real thing, and that's tricky, is Ian Garry has a big reach advantage and height advantage, although... How much taller is he really than Islam? They had a face-off, and Ian Garry is like 2 inches taller than him at best. So one of you two are lying about your height. Either Makhachev's not 5'10", or Gary's not 6'3". I think it's somewhere in between. I think Makhachev is 5'11", and Gary's probably like 6'1". You know, maybe 6'2", but like barely. And Makhachev's like a tall 5'11". There's something happening over here that I don't quite trust. And saying all that, yeah. So Garry, he has good footwork. He's gonna run around on the outside. But I think his striking is overrated. So let's first talk about the takedown defense. I think not getting taken down by Bilal is not that impressive because JDM didn't get taken down by Bilal, or maybe only once. And then Makhachev completely took him down with ease and destroyed a whole perception of that. And then Bilal went on to lose right after that to Bonfim. You know, he couldn't take down Bonfim either. So is Bonfim also just like this guy with amazing takedown defense? I don't think so. You know, so I'm not really going to use that as an example. I think Makhachev is much better at wrestling than Bilal. And then the other thing, talking about Shavkat couldn't take down Garry. I think the people talk about Shavkat like he was a world beater, and I think he was really good. You know, he finished everyone besides for Garry. But first of all, he did still beat Garry. Let's just get the record straight. Let's not let this guy gaslight us. He did beat Garry by a clear 48-47 decision. And the thing is, like, I don't think Shavkat has great takedowns. I wouldn't call Shavkat a good wrestler. He had nice trips, and it's going to be very hard to take down someone of this stature with trips. Ian Garry has, I think he has his own judo background, and he has very good balance. But what we did see was Shavkat being able to take down Garry with wrestling. The one takedown that he did get was when he finally just shot in for a takedown on Garry's legs instead of body locks, and he took him down pretty easily and controlled him for that whole round, and Garry just kind of locked himself in bottom position and didn't do much, right? And again, I don't rate Shavkat's wrestling that much. He was really struggling to take down Wonderboy. Go and watch that fight again. It took him 2 fights to put him away. Now, once he takes you down, he has very good submissions, and he's a very good striker too, and he has a better frame than Islam for 170. But again, I don't think his wrestling is all that. And Garry did still lose that fight. And when we look at the takedown, again, the wrestling is what worked. And that's the Islam. He does have his trips too, where, you know, he likes grabbing the inside of the glove and going for those inside trips. But I think he'll, like what we saw against JDM was using the wrestling. Like, and it's going to be easier against Gary because JDM's shorter. He's like 6 feet tall. Gary's like 6'1". I know you're saying you're 6'3", whatever. Okay, he's like 6'2". We'll settle at 6'2", 6'1.5". I think Islam is going to be able to get under the punches, and if he gets in, I see him getting those takedowns. And on top, I think now he could get a submission too. But it will be interesting. I think people are also like underestimating Makhachev's striking, and they're overestimating Gary's striking. People are talking about Gary as if he's the best striker at welterweight, and they're talking about that fight versus Prates as if he schooled Prates on the feet. Let's not forget he shot like 20 takedowns on Prates. I hate when this happens. Like, you could say he outstruck him because that's a factual statement. You can't say he's a better striker because if he was a better striker, why did he have to shoot all those takedowns? If he was just such a good striker, why did he have to keep on threatening going to the ground? And in round 5, he got dropped badly and almost got put away. I just wanted to put that out there because that was a very satisfying part of it. Literally got dog walked on his knees, crawling away. It's the same when they say like Makhachev is a better striker than Volkanovski because he outstruck him in the first fight. First of all, I don't think he did. Are we forgetting a full round of ground control? And it was a very close fight regardless. But yeah, if Islam was a better striker than Volkanovski, why did he shoot all those takedowns? You know, it's the same thing. So stop with this, oh yeah, he outstruck Poirier. Fine, maybe technically. He still had to get all those fucking takedowns, didn't he? Right? So I don't think he's a better striker. But I still think he is a better striker than people are talking about him right now in this fight. They're kind of just talking about he has to get the takedowns and Gary has to keep it on the feet. I think Makhachev is going to catch people by surprise with his boxing. He's going to get to be a shorter opponent, which he doesn't get to do often. I think Mcconico might have been a little bit taller than him too. And JDM was also taller than him, so never mind. He has done this before. Poirier is probably around his height. But my point is, I think... Yeah, I think he's going to be able to get in with the boxing. I think Gary's going to have to stay back a lot, and he's going to find his back on the cage a lot. And when Makhachev finds him on the cage, he's going to shoot in, kind of hold him against the cage. And let's never underestimate Makhachev's ability to make it boring. I don't think he's a boring fighter, besides for the JDM fight, obviously. But besides for that, he's been very entertaining, getting a lot of finishes. But if he needs to, he will make this boring. He will hold Gary against the cage for 5 rounds. You know, if, what's his name? If Shavkat's been able to do it, I think Makhachev will too. I think he's physically stronger than Shavkat. And again, I think if we're on the cage, he'll be able to chain wrestle, not just grab like a body lock and try to drag him down. He'll be able to switch to a single leg, switch to double leg. I can see Gary try to pull a guillotine because he's dumb sometimes. He had a competitive, like, Gary did have a split decision fight with Jeff Neal, you know? He did have a split decision fight with MVP. Like, he's not as good as people are making him sound. I think that they like have the narrative that he's annoying, but he's good. No, he's just annoying, and he's, like, decent. He's fine. I think he deserves this title shot. I just don't see him getting it. I could see it being really competitive. The narrative might be, oh, Gary's actually pretty good. You know, hey, maybe we have to give him some respect. And then he's going to come out and say something really fucking annoying again. And we'll be like, actually, no, now I remember why we hate you. That's what he did again after the Shavkat fight. He loves to do this. You're never going to be able to respect him because the second you start to, he's going to make sure you don't respect him anymore. So I'm picking Islam Makhachev by late round submissions. So let's talk about how I see this fight going. I see round 1, Islam struggling with the reach, and Gary kind of staying on the outside. But anytime Gary does try to engage, Islam's going to duck under. And in round 1, he might struggle to get a takedown, but he's going to build into this fight, and he's going to adjust. We saw that in the Volkanovski fight, where he adjusted and slowly was able to make the takedowns more effective, and eventually getting onto the back. I could see him getting onto Gary's back. I could see him jumping onto Gary's back. And then I think in the later rounds is when Gary's going to start to slow down. Makhachev's going to start getting the timing better, and he's going to latch up that rear naked choke. And if not, I can see him letting some ground and pound and also winning a close decision. I think this fight's going to be competitive until Makhachev wins either by a close decision or by finish in the later rounds. And that's it for my breakdown of UFC 330. Hope you enjoyed. I'll be back with my reaction to this full card after it is done. And thank you all for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see ya.